and Chris Olsen is with us for our Home and Garden Wednesday, and we're talking about Curb Appeal Month.
This is National Curb Appeal Month, so we're going to actually walk through my curb appeal front yard.
Beautiful.
And just, well, you know, it's great this year with the way the weather has been, and we're going to show you ways in which you can add curb appeal to your home and make yourself and your home the envy of the neighborhood. That's what it's all about, because it's contagious.
It doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that, does it?
It really doesn't. It just takes a little bit of maintenance and just a little bit of a budget just to fluff it up.
Okay, all right, well, we're gonna walk through Chris's front yard. He's got those tips and tricks how to make your house the best looking one on the block.
Okay, it's National Curb Appeal Month. You know what that means? That means your yard has to look good. And there's so many things you can do to make your home look good without spending a lot of money. For example, we're going to kind of walk around my own yard and show you some things I did. First thing is I have this huge sewer right in front of my house. And of course it's an eyesore. So what do? You just camouflage it. And all I did was add a collage of pots. Even if you don't have a sewer in the front of your house, you can still do this at your mailbox instead of doing just a little flower bed. Gives a lot of bang for the buck and a lot of color. Then when it comes to your mailbox, speaking of mailbox, don't forget to maybe put some vines on it like I did with the Mandevilla vine. And then I did a big number, of course, the number 7. And every year I changed the color of my 7. So always giving a new, fresh look, because human nature is we get kind of bored. Then we're entering a cool little avenue in my front yard. I created rooms. The first room are Yoshino cherry trees. They overhang everything. And not only do they look good right now, but in springtime when they're covered in their small blossoms, they're absolutely beautiful. But if you notice something, I have no lawn anymore because my trees grew bigger and I got more shade. With that being said, I didn't want to sacrifice my trees. So monograss is what I put in place. And then I did a beautiful little hedges with lots of different types of flowers and that type of thing. What's really cool is I have a real nice gate, and I installed this gate almost 20 years ago, so it's still standing. But what this gate does, it says welcome. Also, it divides my yard into 2. So instead of being the typical front yard that most of us have, but there's nothing wrong with that, I have 2 rooms in my front yard. So come on into the second room. In the second room, again, I took out all the lawn, and it's all about flowers. Anything goes. Any type of flower I like, I planted it. Kind of did it a little bit in drifts, so it's not too much, because you can have too much of a good thing. But all different types of flowers. This is my space, the space that I enjoy. Even though it's the front yard, you can still put some chairs out in the yard like I did over here, the kind of aged chairs that were Spanish blue. Because sometimes I'll come out here in the evening and we'll sit out here with a drink or something like that and just chill. So my front yard becomes just as important as my backyard. Now look at all the different types of flowers. Everything, there's always something here, whether it's spring, fall, or even winter, something of interest. And don't forget, you can always do a water feature in your front yard as well.
What can we do to make our house look better? Because that's what it's all about, curb appeal.
Well, it is curb. If you should do anything, you should do it for your neighbors too. I mean, you want to look good for your neighborhood and make sure your values go up and that type of thing. So we talked earlier in the first segment about what you can do starting from the curb on into the yard. And now we're going to look at some footage of what you can do, at least do your front door and your front porch. So here's my front door. I did something different. I started off with the door color. So what I did is I painted a big stripe. It's an apple green stripe, and I glazed over it with a stain, so it warms it up. But if you notice, instead of doing a wreath, I did 3 stag ferns on my door.
Ooh,
something different. So you have contemporary pots on both sides, so they're charcoal and they're tall, so they add a vertical height to my front porch.
Okay.
So we're changing up a small space and making it look a lot bigger. Then don't forget about your steps. You know, we hemajang different clay pots and glass spheres, and I have impatiens, I have antique watering cans, so you kind of have to meander through there like a pathway. Now, you don't have to have as much, but it really adds, when people meander through it, they tend to look down at it. So those are things I do, and there's some more of the elements. Of course, I covered my concrete with flagstone, and I just let it age naturally, and that also warms my curb appeal as well. Don't forget about light fixtures. They're so important. Spend a little bit more money. Don't get what everybody else has in your neighborhood. I found those at a specialty store. They're big, square, and they look great and very, very different. And I even put these old-fashioned light bulbs in it, which also makes my house stick out from the others. And then instead of doing a hanging basket, I hang this wire basket, and I threw everything I had left over. I did a garden hose, I did clay saucers, I did glass spheres. And I have this great looking hanging basket that I do not have to water.
Yes.
And it's totally different from everybody else in the neighborhood. Now, one other thing you might want to consider too is when you're doing something, it's not just your front porch or a hanging basket hanging there. You also got to think about, what about like your garage area? Because most of our houses in West Little Rock, what? The focal point is our garage doors. Your home's the same thing. My home's the same thing. So I took the stripe design from my front door and I did it to my garage door.
Look at that. Okay,
And
what
so,
kind of paint do you need to use though? if
just
you're
regular
wanting to-
paint.
Okay.
I did olive paint, and then I did a light colored paint. Look how cool it looks.
It does look cool.
See, now it's a focal point. I got vine on the house, which also ages the house. I did the boxwoods in the middle, and then you see one pot, but there's really two in a row. Adds that contemporary design to it. So overall, just changing those two areas of your house can add curb appeal to your home and make it stick out different from everyone else. Even if your house looks like everybody else's, I live in West Little Rock, a lot of our houses look the same, just doing that, you can differentiate your house. Because when we were in your house that one time, you had a house that has a blue door.
Yeah.
You know, and I love, remember you were talking about the blue
Yes,
door?
yes.
It stuck out from every other house simply by color paint. And when you paint your door, it doesn't have to, you should never have it match your shutters. Should always
And
be
that's
different.
something interesting too. And you said it doesn't always have to match your garage either.
Or no, and your garage
If you
shouldn't
wanna
match your
make it
trim.
different,
People always make
right.
the garage. I make the garage stick out, paint it
Yeah.
a different color.
I like it. I
Sure.
like how it looks lived in, Chris, yet still so polished, and so it looks really good.
It's still
It does.
cozy, it's still home.
Right, yeah, I like that, cozy. Chris H. Olsen with Botanica Gardens. Thanks as always.